So excited. So a couple things. One is I think that this is the last. I get to combine two announcements together. This is the last first check we're going to hand out to a new associate for getting back the refund for their fingerprints.
Yay.
Because normally what we do is we go, hey, first check, so this is someone's first check, but actually the first check is the first time they're getting a check from Primerica, but they're getting a first check from Primerica, but the first check from Primerica is actually the refund from the fingerprints.
Right.
So it's this weird, hey, you got your first check, because it's for new people, and new people are like, oh, they got their first check, not realizing it's for that. So we're going to give Richard congratulations for getting his first check. Hey, money, money. Two, as an announcement, know that that's never going to happen again, because effective October 1st, I believe, or November 1st, there is no more fingerprint fee. Primerica is actually paying the fingerprint fee in advance for folks. So, and none of our folks have to actually even pay the $74 and then get the refund for the $74. They just show up, pass, and clean and done. So, a very, very, very good thing, just so that you guys know that in that process. So through that. Okay, we got all sorts of stuff today. So, a couple things. One, I'm in a goofy mood. Goofy mood. So, couple things is, please respond to the e-bite for the Halloween party. Please go in and do that. So it just gives us the ability to know who's coming, and then if you're inviting other folks and stuff like that. We've got a list, and we started it on Wednesday. So if you've already signed in, great. But for like something to bring, so that we can kind of help through the process, right? So we've got hot appetizers and cold appetizers and desserts. So if you guys, can bring some stuff so that we can make sure that this will be here. So I'll pass that. You guys have already started that.
Here.
So yeah.
If you've got folks to invite, you can actually invite them, send the e-bite to them. And if you have any trouble, just send us their emails and we'll get the e-bites to them.
So it'll be, it's going to be fun. Very excited about that.
Awesome.
Yes. So we're like, oh, eat that, and eat that, and eat that. So really excited about that. Annual compliance is November 15th from 8:30 to 11:30. Please be here. If you have people that are licensed, get them here. It's one of the, even our gaps, we've got to get our gaps here. It's the one meeting a year, right? We talk about that we've got to have them here for this. It's got to be done by November 30th. So normally we do one in mid-October and get it done, but we didn't. So we're going to do it November 15th. The makeup's become a royal pain in the rear end on that. So please, November 15th, let's make sure that we get everybody here. And the fun thing is it gives us the ability to give a 10 or 15-minute commercial as to the changes in the growth and all sorts of stuff. So, and there will be lots of cool things for the commercial. There will couple things just to kind of lock in so that we all know. We have our Wednesday meetings, but we're not going to do an AAA'z night. We're not going to do for new guests. We're going to do it November 12th and December 10th. All other Wednesdays are going to be trainings and practices, and we're going to be working on lineups and conversations and moving folks and kind of the principles and tools of what we're doing. It's going to be an involved practice. I highly recommend. It's going to start from 5 o'clock till 9 o'clock. You don't have to be here at 5 o'clock, and you don't have to stay till 9 o'clock. 7 to 9 will be. What I've been doing is meeting with folks one-on-one, but I can't meet with everyone. 7 to about 8:30. I'm doing the next phase in the meeting conversation. So, right, Kat, I've been meeting with Don, right, every week, but I can't do that with you. But on that Wednesday, it's here's the meeting that we're having with the folks so that we can kind of collapse those time frames and stuff. And I'll be meeting probably with Richard at 5 o'clock on Wednesdays, 5 to 6. So I've got the 6 to 7 window open, and we'll go from 7 to 8, 8:30, kind of through that process, just as an opportunity to be able to do it, and as a platform to get your folks. If anyone has people that are on their draft board that they want to convert to their roster and they need a space, let me know. We can meet with them one-on-one. We can do a 30-minute, kind of first next conversation. There's all sorts of things that we can do. Wednesday nights are critical. We're not canceling them. We're not changing them, but we want to have 8 people in a room on the 12th of November instead of 2 new people on the, every week. Until then, it's just a different emotional experience to kind of be able to blow that out. Especially since, really what we're doing is actively building to our bullpen for January 3rd, kind of be able to blow this thing out, right? It doesn't make sense to say, hey, I don't really want you guys calling your market, but we need to get people to the meeting. Like, that just seems relatively counterproductive, in terms of what's going on with that. So, yes, ma'am.
Wednesday the 26th, that's the night before Thanksgiving.
There will be no practice that night. There no practice that night. No night and no practice that Saturday.
Okay.
And the last meeting of the year will be December 17th.
Right. And then we're off for the rest of the year.
Till January 3rd.
Okay.
And let's make sure that we are back and ready. Everyone's in town and ready to go January 3rd. January 3rd is going to be a really, and it might be an afternoon, January 3rd might be an afternoon meeting and not a morning meeting. We're still going to kind of talk about it because we're going to do a ton of phone calls and a lot of stuff, so we might move it back. So we're leaving that Saturday open. We haven't kind of locked anything in, but January 3rd is going to be a really big business day for all of us. So I want to be able to do that. I went over, and so there's been a slight modification. I'm going to hand this out just so that you guys have it. The video will be done sometime this coming week, and I'll let you know, and it'll be in access support. Once we've got that. But there's one kind of small minor, it's not a big deal, but it kind of, just from the lineup, so we go through this process. I'm going to go through this, but you're going to see this and it'll be a little bit different. So, draft board and the roster and the players and the starters and the captains and the team owners. When we're writing this out, right, what you guys have seen forever has been, we've got our now list, our hot and our warm and our then list, our lukewarm and our frozen, and what we're doing is building this to the bullpen and this to that, right? And then from here, we go through this process and we do that. We've seen that art a million times, right? Okay, here's I always put the Surgeon General's warning that I reserve the right to modify things as we start attacking the next phase. Anything we get locked in, right? And so, right, the lineup itself is locked in. We know that this is locked, right? But as we move to the next little categories, I always reserve the right to tweak things a bit, right, while we get this locked in. Well, we're now starting to work with a bunch of folks on our hot list and our warm list and our lukewarm and our frozen and our bullpen. Okay, and so now the functionality being as the description of what's going on. Does that make sense? And so now we start getting into the function side of it. And here's what's really hard to do. When you're writing out your farm system and you're going, okay, who's who, and you're starting to list this out, the people that are the closest, the ones that you're going to work with the soonest is on your bullpen. But our bullpen is this floating little thing down here, which doesn't actually serve us through the process, right? Because we've got to go through our, now listen, and then we get down here, and this is actually the next group that we're actually working for, right? And we don't want to make it, and I'm like, what? Over the last couple weeks, I'm like, do we make it another category? And no, because it needs the arrows. It's the center component of your farm system. So here's, right? When I'm writing it out and I'm describing it to somebody, and on the animation you'll see this will come up first, and then this will come up, but then this will go here, so the animation, and then from here goes straight over there, so it's still, everything's the same. That just normally used to be down here, but I didn't want anyone to go, what, it's different. Because when you list it out, what you're doing is, under your farm system, the first group of people you're going to put your then list, right, when you're writing this out. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So just from a practical, so when I hand this out and everyone's like, oh, why is it different? Just nothing's changed except the practicality of what it is we're building to. Mm-hmm. Does this make sense? Yes. Mm-hmm. And this is what you guys are going to be doing a lot of for the rest of your business. I did this morning. Like, this is what we do. Every week, every couple of days, right? And I review it, and I'll write it out every couple of days, and then I'll write on it, and then it'll get messy, and I'll move it through, and we'll create a new one, and it gives this. Someone help me know what this is. Yes, it's our lineup, but what is this? Okay, but what skill does this illustrate?
Getting likes. High five.
Boom, baby.
Cool.
She gets one too? Okay, oh, boom, right? High five for you too? You like high fives? Right, we are gonna, look, guys, we are so, this what this is this is the getting wide skill. This is breaking down, saying, okay, who are my players? Why is this critical? What is my job with my players? Not what is my player's job. This is very, very, very important. Cindy's job is not necessarily to become a starter. Why? Because Cindy might not want to be a starter. Cindy might want to make an extra $500 a month. Is it my job to pull her by the hair up to building a team and to be able to make $5,000 a month? No. But how important is it that I know what I'm doing with Cindy? So I've got to be able to write her up there on the list. I've got to be able to identify where she is. I've got to be able to then develop a game plan and then execute that plan. Well, this is the write-up, so it gives me a platform to be able to identify. I knew I was showing this to everyone, so I did this morning, so I'm not going to, if there'd be notes or what's going on, because these are my working papers. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And I don't list in priority of anything. I just kind of go through my list of who am I working with, like who did I talk to last, or what is this different thing.
Did you miss Cat on there?
I've done a cat on there.
Oh,
right?
okay.
That's just, I didn't put any of the spouses as I was running through, right? It's kind of that process. So
Just didn't know where you were.
yeah, no, that's fine. I look at it, traditionally I'll put all the different spouses' names on most of my list. This was just, Richard was walking in when I was finishing this, so I apologize. You have not missed by any stretch of the imagination.
It's your fault. So.
Scary. No, but what it does, so now all of a sudden I'm like, okay, look, well, who's getting licensed? Right? They should all be, these are my licenses in November, right? Here's the game plan, right? I know kind of where it's going over here. I got Danny, I got Ernie, I got Brian, who's with David that I'm working with, right? Who's on my bullpen, who's the hot, right? I got to do more work, flesh out of this and this. As I was like writing this today, I've been struggling with this whole thing. As I'm writing this, I'm like, no, we got to redefine and remodel how we do this because it's the same process. This is, Joseph, the first skill we need everybody to come empower with. Right? We all want, well, what do I do when? What do I do when? Let's break this question down. What do I do when? What does that sound like? What do I do when? Richard, you asked me that question, didn't you? What does that sound like? We have it in a tool. Of what though? What do we do when? It's a component of wide. It's a component of wide, isn't it?
Oh, getting wide.
What
Identify.
do I do when? What's the next one?
Oh.
Develop a game plan.
D and wide.
We write up our list. We identify and assess, which is, what do I do next? Here's why this is critical. If we jump here before we do this, we're constantly putting out fires. We're hunting rather than growing and running a business. Just if you need paper, you can take that. This is a great question, but it's a much easier question to answer when we're clear on who we're talking to and where they are. If we know we're talking about our bullpen, what do we do next? We know what to do. If we're talking about our now list, are we building an appointment from our now list? Are we trying to schedule an appointment from our now list? What are we trying to do? Move them to the bullpen. So what do we do now is we move our now list to our bullpen. So it gets us very clear. Why? Because we're going to be working with lots and lots of people. How many of us get confused? It's not that hard to get confused. How many of us let our ambitions confuse ourselves? The ability to identify and assess allows us to control our ambitions.
If you jump to D, you might have a plan to develop 20 starters, but you have no one in your bullpen.
Because that's what you want, right? For the folks that have been around for a while, the last year, you've watched this list. This group was here in January, not this particular group. We had 2 or 3 people on our players and a bunch here, and it's just been migrating this way. No hurry, just step by step, next little bit, right? My goal is for a period of time, right? We want the folks that want to be starters. So we've got a group of people that are like, look, January, February, we want to be running our deal, right? We want to be go. So the goal is by January, February, January 3rd, ideally, Adira, how great would it be to have your name over under starter? Right? Donna Cat's name under starter, sitting right. So now all of a sudden it's January 3rd and we're starting the year and I run the meeting and we say, let's get wide. And it's got 4 or 5 people under starters, bunch of people under, right? All of these people are here because my goal, because I told you in April, is we want 20 to 23 people licensed players. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Okay, who can we get started in the next couple of weeks? That's the 25. That was my goal, right? Does this make sense? Because then there's a platform. But there was 3 at the beginning of the year. But if we can teach now this process, you're going to have 20 to 25 to 30 by the end of the year. Wow. Because we just start with this and we just move it this way. This make sense? But the only way this works is I can't treat Adira like an owner. Both positive and challenging. Like I can't have the expectations of you to behave and run like a full business owner. You're not getting paid like a full business owner. You don't have the time and energy to behave like if you got a full-time. This make sense? What we want to do is treat you like a player that wants to become a starter and give you these next steps. So I gave you a hard time on Wednesday night. Why? Because that's creating a little stir to go, wait, I don't want to sit where I am. I want to move to the next. Does this make sense? This is the skill of getting wide. And it's not about, and guys, this is critical. This is simply your I am. It's critical that this is your I am. What is the power? What is the most important component of your I am? What does your I am have to be?
What you see.
What's it? It has to be a neutral assessment.
What does that mean?
You cannot be too high or too low with this. Here's how lots of people in this room, and maybe not just in this room, but all sorts of the room, hear this. They sit here and they're like, they start thinking about their list. They're like, I don't have that. I've been here for blah, 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 and this has happened, and I've tried this, and I've tried this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. All of that energy occurs in creating this. When that happens, this is a useless tool. It's useless. It doesn't mean anything. And you can do, in my opinion, you can do everything else right, except this, and this will not grow. There are very few things in the world that are absolutes that I've found. I absolutely believe with every fiber in me, if you mess this up on this, nothing else. Because it'll determine how you assess. If you feel less than, you'll see all the problems on this list. You'll see someone else move their people faster, or someone so is better. And if you're overconfident, you'll see people better and further than they, with more strength. And then what happens is you'll treat them like one category higher. Does this make sense? The last 2 years working on this is because this component in check allows this tool to be flushed out and leveraged. It's not a little thing. And look, Primerica is not, our Primerica is not for everyone. Right? Robin's always said, if you don't like people, this is not a place for you. If you are a negative thinker and you identify yourself with it, you won't thrive here. There will be no oxygen for it. When we put 30 people in a room, there will be people that get asked to leave. When we have 30, 50, 100, 200, there are people who come in that have the abilities that look at the world this way and communicate it. There's not going to be a space for it. That's the one thing we need to do to protect our environment.
It's why we're building a culture of celebrating other successes.
It's critical.
Yeah.
And I don't want anyone in this room to come for, like, I don't hope no one in this room is like, oh God, I'm going to have to leave. No, there's room for all of us to get better and grow. Look, this is a skill. You just have to be open to the skill development. Does this make sense? We're not expecting people to come in and be experts at this stuff by any stretch of the imagination, but there's an openness too. This skill doesn't it start to look fun? Now, I'd like to tell, like, for those of us, because I want you to understand what we're building. Okay, Richard, you came in today, we sat down, and you said something about, tell me about the 2 people you just put on your bullpen. You can tell me what you told me. You said, Brett, it's funny, I'm looking at this and I talked to.
I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but the 2 people I talked to approached me. I didn't approach them about meeting with me. I don't remember what I have short-term.
You're doing good.
I really do have short-term memory loss, so I don't remember what I said. Now, if you ask me what I said to you a month ago, I could tell you. No, seriously.
You can just say. it
Just say it
again. Tell us
again.
about
I'm
the
trying to
two
remember.
people.
No, really, I'm trying to remember what it was.
Well, what the conversation, I'll prompt you on
Okay,
this, was the conversation Richard came to was, he goes, there's two people that we're gonna need to go see. I talked to both of these ladies a while ago, and they came and talked to me. One of them's married with kids.
Yeah, one of them's married with kids. The other one, she has a fiance. They're not married.
But they have kids.
They have kids. And they're both interested in whatever we can do for them. And I didn't talk to them exactly about what I do. And my dilemma was, it was easier with them because they approached me about meeting with me. So how do I, because I was talking about putting them in my bullpen.
Okay. Well, we're going to get to that next piece. But the part that I wanted all of us to hear was, here's a part-time guy that's been going through the process, just got his license, just got his first check, of people who know what we do, who want what we do. One of them's open to the business to grow Richard's business. But whose business does that also grow? Mine.
Yours.
Jenny, we talk about this as the greatest part-time opportunity in the history of the world. It's an opportunity. If we help those two families, Richard makes what? Money. Those families get help. What happens to my business? My business grows. We have a potential to recruit. We have 2 new allies. We have a foundation. It's profitable, that's seeing it work, that allows them to go to this market. What happened if we had 400 Richards? Without any monsters. What are you building? You're building the greatest part-time opportunity in the history of the world. Do you believe that we provide access to the education tools and that this is a legitimate opportunity for people to grow and get their lives changed? That's all this list is. We get people on this list and we just slowly move them over here. All these people are doing is getting their hours and quizzes done. We're introducing the crusade, letting them know the support system that's in place and that there's an opportunity for them at whatever time and pace they need. Then they're going to come here and we're going to talk to them about, let's get the 10 most important people in their life in their corner. And then we're going to teach them how to get one. Now, Richard's excited because not this Friday coming, but next Friday, we've got 2 kitchen table appointments. That then gives us, he's got 5 or 6 people in his hot that we're moving to the bullpen. How is he going to move to the bullpen? Because after he sees these 2 appointments, he's going to be able to call his hot and say, you know, I just sat with these 3. And I realized you don't understand what I'm doing, and you're one of my friends. And so the moment he goes on these 2 appointments, he can call his hot and say, I met with these couples and they made me think of you, and now there's, so he can transition from his hot to his bullpen through that conversation. So now all of a sudden Richard's like, I got 5 people on my hot, I got 15 people in my warm, we're gonna work as a, and there's a way to build through this process. But he's not taking his hots to captains. He's going step 1 skill. What is this? Skill. Why? We have next Saturday, I'm counting on everyone in this room to show up and have this concept, at least this one done, and starting to work on this. Because guess what? This is is that how you spell assess?
Yes.
Okay. This is a skill, this is a skill, and this is a skill. This is the first skill. And Richard had asked, what do I do next? That's a really good question. And what we're doing is between now and the end of the year, we're working really hard with people on developing each of these skills. But you do this, you do this, you do this, and we now, yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, what does PCS stand for?
Hot, warm, lukewarm, frozen, player, starter, captain.
Okay, I knew the others.
Yeah. Them are part of your why. Don and Kat Arnott are on a game plan. I have a specific game plan. We have a specific game plan for Don and Kat Arnott. And we're executing that plan with as much purpose as possible. It's a collaboration. Can I make them do anything? No. But I can navigate the plan. The plan's based on what I think and what we talked about they said they want. That's a skill. Does this make sense? Mm-hmm. I've been doing this for 20 years. I just didn't have the language to be able to teach it. How fun that we can learn this skill. So here's what I would love for all of us to do. Y'all having fun? Write up your list. It should be within arm's reach at all times. And if you have to go back to your list to remember, you don't know. Richard, I asked you, do you mind if I asked Richard, he told me about these two young ladies. And I go, Richard, I go, fantastic. I go, where would they be on your list? Did I have to ask that question? And Richard's answer was, they're on my hot list. My answer to Richard was, what'd you say? No, they're not. Where are they? Bullpen.
So what's the difference? I don't understand.
That's why we're having this conversation. Your now list, your hots will say yes. Your hots will say yes. Your warms will say sure. Your lukewarm will say hi. Oh, wow.
What do you mean by oh wow?
Someone you haven't talked to in 2 years. I want every one of you to do this, by the way. Next Friday morning. So your work between today and next Friday morning is 10. Go on Facebook, go on your phone book, go wherever you can, and I want you to find a minimum of 10 people that you have not communicated personally with for a minimum of 6 months. And it could be 10 years. But a minimum of 6 months that you have not directly communicated with them. And on Friday morning, I want you to send a text or an email or a Facebook message, not on their wall, personal private message. And it's going to say, boo, B-O-O, exclamation point. I know it's been a long time. I hope I didn't scare you. I was just I tripped on you. I tripped on your name. I was just thinking about you, and I wanted to say hi. I hope things are good. Period. That's it. Boo! Exclamation point. I hope I didn't scare you. I tripped upon your name. I thought of you, whatever. I wanted to say hi. I hope things are well. Send. That is the beginning of how you start thawing out a frozen market. And I'm partial to Halloween. Because I think I've recruited like 4 people from that text. That exact text. Not in a week, in 6 months. At least 10. You start your frozen. Put them into the Advocate Pro, run the frozen workflow. It'll tell you what to do. and when to do it, and when not to do it. Because they're going to respond, and you're going to be like, oh my God, I totally need to get together. And the machine's going to smack you in the back of the head. We have to figure out how to do that. There's a little zap or something. Okay? But our bullpen are people that'll say yes or sure. You're like, well, what's the difference there? The difference is they'll hear you. People, every one of us, have a mental picture of the people in our lives, of what we expect from them, what they talk to us about, who they are, what their value systems are. And so every time we get into a conversation with them, everything that fits inside that picture that we have makes complete sense. And anything outside of that picture is huge. Well, if you've never been in financial services or sales or business or development or any of this other stuff, and you talk to certain people about financial services or sales or business, there's a level of confusion that can kick in. And so what traditionally people will say is, oh, you started something and you want to come. And so now there's resistance to that point. The bullpen is someone who will say yes or sure. And when you say there's something I want to share with you with this, we've introduced the concept into the framework, so there's less resistance to that. We'll get clearer on this. This is still clumsy. So I'm meeting with folks one-on-one, and we're kind of developing this and where this process goes. But what we do, so here's the example. Richard's got someone on his hot list that hasn't talked to anybody. He hasn't talked about the business. If he called him up and said, hey, I want to help, I started a business, I want to share this with you. Now all of a sudden there's what do you want to come sell? There's no framework for this. If Richard can say, it's funny is I got licensed and I've been building this financial service company, and I just met with a couple couples and they reminded me of you, and I realized you don't actually know what I'm doing. And it's important for the people in my life to understand what I'm doing. That connection gives him a foundation of there's a reason why you're calling me, and it can create a space for them to go, wow, that's interesting. Yes, maybe not today or tomorrow, but it opens up the door for those conversations. Does that make sense? We'll get it much clearer. It's still clumsy. I'm sorry. We're honing this in. Explain that, okay? So, but for right now, what I want us to realize is this is, I almost wrote on the wall.
I know you're gonna do that one.
I've almost done it. I've not done it ever, and I had my pen, and it's the right size. It's not like,
You need an erase line.
right? Normally when it's right, that would be great. When it's this size, I don't think about it, right? When it's this size, you're like, I would write this. That's a skill. Moving people from our now list to our bullpen is a skill to work on. Moving people from our then list to our now list is a skill we are going to work on. This is what we're going to spend the rest of the year, spending a lot of time cultivating it up. Does this make sense? Mm-hmm. We can't do this without this. It's theory. I'm going to ask that we're now in a place where we can start working on practicality, which means we've got to get we've got to get this wide concept down. We've got to have our bullpen, our now list, our hot and our warms, our then list, our lukewarms, and our frozens to where we can pull this out and go, okay, let's talk about Billy. What do we do with Billy? Because once I can go, okay, so tell me a little bit about Billy, I can assess where Billy's at. We can talk about it, and then we can develop a game plan for Billy. And then you can execute that game plan to move Billy. And that's really, really good at. And then we'll institutionalize it like we've done this. And now in March, when you're a starter and you've got 6 people on your team and they're starting to run their list, you'll be able to sit with them and use the skills that you developed and the resources we have to help them do the same thing.
And Kat, it's so easy for you or us to sit here and say, okay, so God, would that person be hot on the bullpen? And in the meeting, whether it's Brad or with me or the more people that you walk through, then he'll say, oh, Susie is in the bullpen and here's why. And then you'll encounter someone else in your life, George, and you'll think, oh, George is like Susie. George must go on the bullpen. So it takes working with it, because the more examples in your own life that you have, the more you start to find similar characteristics that help you know where to put a person in what place. Does that make sense?
And
Because
this,
the abstract is helpful, but it's really when you get down to it that the strength.
and you look stressed, and I'm asking you to not be a little bit.
Okay.
If this was 9 months from now, 5 people in the room, and 30 of them are really, really good at this. And so rather than one person coming up and theoretically doing this, we have a 20-minute session on a Saturday where Cindy comes up and runs through her lineup. And then the next week, Yadira comes up and runs the next week. And you've been here for 2, by the time you've been here 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 9 months, by the time you're here, right, if you think about the time frame of this, what happens? We get somebody on our poll set, we get them on our draft board. We turn in their IBA, we get them to do their hours and quizzes, right? This takes a month or 2 to be able to go through. Then we take the next 5 weeks and they do their top 10. And they learn the conversations, right? They make some money and they realize they've got this. Then they start working on their securities license, learning the conversations, and developing their farm system. This is 3.5 months to 4 months in the game before, but they've been hopefully coming to Saturdays realizing, oh, we can do this. This isn't a scary concept because everyone's doing it. We're in a room where we're rolling this out. You guys have been on the forefront of every component we have. So you have 2 options, and I say this every time we roll into the next phase. 2 options. Come back 6 months from now, or help us construct it. That's just, I don't know what you all did in a past life to have to pay this price here now. I don't know what it was, but you did something terrible because you had to be here through this process. And I'm just not, that's a joke. I think this is really cool.
And exciting.
But that, and so here's what we know. When we introduced the lineup, it scared the hell out of everybody. How are we going to learn this? How do people organize it? How am I going to know who's? It scared the hell out of everybody. Now, it's a comfort to know how to move from one to the next. Does that make sense? This was a skill. So is this. We're just now attacking this. So the work, the skill we've got to get behind us is we've got to have our working list. Because that's the only way that we can actually flesh out the nuances. When we sit down and you're like, tell me about Billy, and I go, well, what do you think about Billy? And you tell me about Billy, and I go, well, what about this? And we come to a conclusion. That's all part of the identifying and assessing skill. And maybe in the beginning, we spend 20 minutes per Billy. But if we spend 20 minutes per 50 people every time, by the time we're done with the 50th person, it's not going to take us 20 minutes anymore. It's going to take us 30 seconds. So, and then the second skill, the scouting report. The third skill is the impact conversations. Right? These are the components of working our farm system. So, you all excited?
Yes.
So what I wanted, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and Richard, you and I have been talking about your lineup, your farm system for 3 weeks, right? When we first started, what percentage of clarity did you feel? Like the first time I went through it, if we said 0 is, I have no idea what you're talking about, 100% is, oh my God, I am completely clear. 3 weeks ago when we started really looking at this and I said, here's what I want you to do. Honestly, give me a percentage of where you were. 20%. Where would you say you are now?
I'd say 85.
Dude, that's pretty good. I was going to put you about 65. 85 to 90 is really good. Either one of these are. But it's 3 weeks later.
Mhm.
If we let how we felt here affect the effort here, this stayed the same.
Real good. If you'd asked me that before we met this morning, I'd have said about 60.
Okay.
Really. But just that little conversation I had with you this morning, just went, oh,
It starts to make sense.
it really does start to make a little more sense. And it relieved a lot of the, probably the anxiety.
Mhm.
It's just like, oh, okay.
So it sounds like, our folks are having difficulty assessing people and where they should be, so it takes time.
So here's what, so let me show this.
Skills have to be learned.
So I showed this before, but I want you to think about something. All right, so let's break this down so that we've got this. Right, I'm going to give you a cheat sheet. Okay, seen that before? Repeat every day from measurable results. Okay, so if you are going to attack a skill, and the skill was wide, based on this fundamental principle, what would your plan of attack be?
Well, I have to have something I can measure, either I did or didn't do it. So that would be a way of getting started in it.
Okay, so
Right.
the premise, the picture version of compete every day for measurable results is my AAA'z, right? That's the graphic illustration of compete every day for measurable results. If you were going to attack this, what would your plan of attack be?
Right.
You like warheads?
Warheads.
Here's why.
I'm not even.
Okay. Here's why. Cindy said, what did you say? It sounds like our people are having trouble assessing. No. No. How can they have trouble assessing? If they haven't right now, you see how easy it is to skip a step because it makes sense? We go to where we think the problem is until we've locked in what's really occurring. So what have my last 3 weeks been? There's Richard's list. There's Frank's list. There's Wade's list. There's Oscar's list. There's Yubi's list. There's Don Katz's list, right? David gave me a list that we're working with. I've been trying to meet with Yadira. We've been trying to coordinate with Cindy. We're getting Joseph right. We'll go through, right? What are we doing? The first piece is none of these lists. I hate the word I'm going to say, but none of these lists are right. They fail. No! Oh! It's there I am.
So what do you mean?
So what we're doing is, they all gave me their list, and then I'm like, oh, great. I now know what is my job. My job is to get what? So I write up my list. I identify and assess. So I meet with Dawn. Dawn's a player that wants to transition to a starter. I meet with Dawn. I get Dawn's list. What does meeting with Dawn's list do for me?
Identify and assess.
Identify and assess.
Right.
Now I'm like, okay, Dawn's working on wide. We've got to attack W first. I now know Dawn kind of gets it, and I'm so proud. There's something he did that I'm like blown away, fired up about, which I'm going to share. So I'm like, oh, he gets it, and he doesn't. That's great. We don't get. This isn't you're fired. This is let's build on what we know, and let's identify and work on. Let's develop a game plan to lock in what it is, so that he and I can execute that plan, so that when we meet again, W is locked.
Mm-hmm.
That make sense?
Yep.
3 weeks now, I've met with Richard. We've gone through. We talked about our now list, our then list, all sorts of stuff. Richard's worked in this. I'm like, well, where's the then list? And he's like, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. That's the next piece. We're working on this. We've got the build of the piece, right? Because we didn't give him the then list piece of paper.
Right.
Does this make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I sat with you, he sat with Dave, all of them. Why? Because the first skill, and we start getting people doing, they're here, they're working on their farm system, and they're learning this skill. What's the first skill they're going to have to learn? W. And then, once we have the list, then, okay. Now, let's take a look at your hots and your warms and have the identify and assess transfer. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's all part of what's being. So I wanted to show you guys that, look, this stuff happens overnight. In January 3rd, I truly believe we're going to have 10 to 12 people with somewhere between 10 and 25 people in their bullpen. And we're going to make lots of phone calls on the 3rd of January, and we're going to do everything we can to get them 5 appointments each for those 12 is 60 KTs in the next 8 days. The following Saturday, we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to go 10 to 10. That means my base shop that I don't think went on 120 appointments all year are going to do in the first 2 weeks. Is that going to create opportunities for learning and education and opportunities for growth? Are we going to get some momentum? Are we going to get some results? Are we going to get some people on the draft board? Are we going to attack the next set of skills? Yeah. Why? Because we're building to January? We're building to January to build to July. And then we're building to July to build to January. Because I'm building my business to January. Then I need to help Yadira. Because if I can help Cindy and Yadira and Donna, if I can help everyone that we get the bullpen to build their business from July to January, January to July, or from July to January, now the fall of 2015, we've got 12 RVPs. Or regional leaders, or folks that are running teams at whatever level that they want. And we've got another 20. And we're building a company that's got explosive growth, not just trying to have a good month.
Right.
Does this make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So we attack one and skill one. And we're like, okay, so guess what? Why are we having these conversations? I've been showing these kind of lists and talking about these for the last couple weeks. Why? Because you hear every time I do this, you do something. Did you know that? Every time I show this list, you go, oh.
Really?
Because you've been trying to meet with me for 3 weeks with your list, haven't you?
Yeah.
Every time I'm like, oh, let me show you Richard's list. Every single time. Why do I keep doing it? Yes. I want Yadira to go, there's not another meeting that's going to happen before.
You can't tell her what to do. She's, I know.
And if it's 4 more weeks, like here's Joseph's, here's Victor's list, right? And sooner or later, Yadira's going to go, hell no. Because why? Yadira can't be building her list to her bullpen consistently and effectively if I'm not involved right now. Why? How could she? I'm the only expert in the room at this because we haven't institutionalized the support systems yet. I'm not the smartest person in the room. I'm the only one that knows the nuance of this piece. Does that make sense? So I know that Yadira is trying, but she's not attacking with a developed game plan to execute with purpose on this list until I'm involved. So I do everything I can to create the space for Yadira goes, seriously, get involved. And then we go, okay, here, click on it. Now Yadira might be really good at identifying the spectacular. So she might go from don't on the list to developing a plan before anybody else. Who knows? They're just skills. And then Cindy's over there going, will he start talking about giving me a list on one time? Is he even complaining that I haven't listened? I know she knows I've seen it. She showed me what time. He doesn't even mention me. Right? So there's that process. No, not even a little bit. There's this competitor inside her.
It's got to be a hell no.
Don't forget about me.
I got my list. Things to talk to Brett about.
You got your list. You wrote up your list. Why? Because we want to flip the dynamics. Do you want a business where you're always chasing your people? No. We want a business where you're valued. And that gets set through this whole process. You know more than anyone in your organization. You have access to more. And we provide access to that. But I would like to acknowledge I am so freaking fired up about this. I was like, this is fan-freaking-tastic. So Don, do you mind if I show this? So Don showed me, so we sat down and we've been working for a little while and he gave me his list, right? And he's like, okay, I got my list and stuff like that. And, he's like, okay, so, here's my farm system, my bullpen, my draft board, my roster, my player. And what he did was he's like, okay, so I know, working on Linda and she's hot, right, on the bullpen, yes. What's my next step? I got to invite him to AA'z night, right? My draft board, I got, Caesar Michelle, right? They've heard it. They like and trust me. They think they're Primerica. They identified the hurdle so that there's a very simple, I can look at this and say, what is it that I'm, okay, he's got a life license, but moving to her securities license and instructor to be able to learn the principles. Like, as a work, I didn't tell him this was phenomenal. He's like, this is just how I organize. Like, this is phenomenal. This is, I get it. You cannot do this unless you get it. It's impossible. It's phenomenal as to what. These are the types of things that our folks are starting to get. We get to lock this stuff in and move to the next. Now, we've been working together for 7 straight weeks on this stuff. It didn't happen overnight, but it doesn't have to. Because when it happens overnight.
Right.
So I was like, oh, this is so good.
I had to be clear on what I was going to show him because it just couldn't understand me. You got to communicate to someone else.
But knowing what this does is you did this for you. But this shows a level of I get what I'm doing. This allows us to think in the lineup. It's phenomenal. And we're all going to have different tools. Until we have a centralized tool, you happen to do something that we're working on and made a sheet that looks very similar to this, the system does for you, right? That's the next phase. But you got to do whatever tools you need to. At the time, it was phenomenal, right? When Yubi showed up, he's like we've got so much cool stuff, Joseph, that's here. And we weren't talking about this stuff 6 months ago. We weren't talking about this stuff a year ago. We were trying to figure out which way it was up.
Okay, I'm confused. What is the farm system? I'm still trying to.
That's okay.
I'm struggling with terms.
That's okay. So 2 things. One is what I would do is get the lingo sheet that we've got. Don's got it, and you guys can spend some time over the next week going over it and really getting that sheet down, right? Because that's as a reference point and a tool, it's broken down the lineup language as to kind of what each of the pieces are. Your farm system basically is your market. It's the people you know really well, kind of well, sort of well, not that well, and not for a long time. It's everybody.
Does that mean the attorneys in my office that they know I work for Lance Church, they might be able to pull my first name out of a hat, but if you put a gun to their head, they wouldn't. I would have called them frozen. These are like $3 million a year attorneys.
Totally get it.
That I'm not ever going to sell life insurance.
No,
to.
not at all. Not at all.
Because they're already so well.
But so this is a really good conversation. So just from a concept of frozen, you took a meatloaf and a lasagna, and you wrapped both of them in aluminum foil, and you put both of them in a deep freezer for a month. When you pulled them out and you put them on the table and you went like this, would you be able to know which one was the lasagna and which one was the meatloaf? No. If I threw them at you, they would both hurt
like a brick.
Just like a brick. They would hurt the same. Right. But if you thawed them out, it wouldn't take very long to realize these things are different.
Right.
Right.
Meatloaf and lasagna, 2 vastly different things. That is frozen. Frozen is a thawed state of a relationship. Hot and frozen, warm and frozen, or lukewarm and frozen?
I don't understand.
I'm going to explain it. Have you ever talked to somebody that you haven't talked to in like 3 years, and then after like 5 minutes, it's as though no time has ever passed?
Yeah.
That relationship was hot, but frozen. It was the meatloaf. Have you ever met somebody that you hadn't seen in a long time, and after about 5 minutes, you realize, I remember why I haven't seen them for a long time.
Right.
That relationship was the meatloaf, lukewarm in that. Have you ever met someone that you haven't seen in a long time and you're like, well, we should probably get together? And you go, we might, when the kids are a little bit older, like it wasn't bad, it wasn't great, it was just kind of there. And then if you saw them a couple months later, you'd be like, oh my God, we have to get the kids together.
Right.
That is warm.
Now, are there frozen?
No.
Who would just
No. Because all of our relationships, the way we define them, are either hot, warm, or lukewarm. Now, here's why. I have a question. Take your lukewarm. The premise of lukewarm is hot. You and I are walking in your firm, and one of the $3 million lawyers sees you and sees me. They're smiling at you and ignoring me. Lukewarm. The barista. Cindy, you and I go to the soccer field, and we go to the baseball fields. The director of the baseball league has seen you and your family for 10 years, right? If you and I are walking, he might go to you and not to me. That make sense? That is lukewarm. We have hundreds and thousands of lukewarms. And we can always cultivate and grow our lukewarms. Why is this so critical? I have our now list, which is our hot and our warm. Can we agree that if we work these people to the bullpen, At some point, this list, this group of people will be extinguished.
Yes, yeah.
They will either be on our scout team or on our draft board.
What does that mean for us?
That means that there's somebody that will ultimately be, they're an advocate.
Oh, an ally or an advocate.
An advocate, yeah.
Right.
So they understand what we're doing. They're not doing the business, but they'll support us in one faction or another. Okay? Well, this entire group, at some point, Cindy's no longer going to be on your now list, right? They're gone. We've already sold them the insurance or got them the investments or got them referred. Like they already know our story. They're supporting us. But now all of a sudden we're like, man, we want to go. Once your now list is done, who are you going to go see? Well, you've already seen your scout team, so now you're begging.
You gotta go to your then list.
You got to go to your then list.
And elevate them up.
Now the question is, if you wait until your now list is gone, how do you have to treat your then list?
Like their nows.
Like they're nows.
Mhm.
Are they nows? No, they're thens.
Yes.
If you send the boo email to someone you haven't talked to in 6 years, and they respond, what do you think they think the moment they get that first text or email or response? You haven't talked to them in 6 years.
Oh, wow.
But do you think how many people, if someone reached out to you that you haven't talked to in 6 years, what do they want?
Right.
What do they want? Not necessarily even in the bed, but you're like, right, if Cindy, if someone reached out to you after 6 years and you told Arturo, hey, this guy I went to school with reached out to me, what would Arturo say? What's he want?
Not defensive, but what's going on?
Maybe I've had people I haven't talked to in a long time call me up and go, hey, do you have? And they try to sell me something. So I'm like, screw you.
Right.
That's exactly what I think. Screw you. The only reason you're talking to me is you want to sell me something. I don't. That's not fun. Is that why we send the boo email? No, we're going to talk for a bit, and we're going to let the relationship. 3 weeks from now, we're going to reach out again and say, hey. So that 2 months from now, we can say we need to grab a cup of coffee in February. Why? Because we want the relationship. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
If we have 50 of those relationships and we're at coffee with a bunch of them in July or in March, now all of a sudden we have a brand new now list. Some are hot, some are warm. Now, let's say Cindy and I were at the baseball diamond and the director of the baseball fields smiled at Cindy. Let's say, I don't know if you know him, but let's say you didn't really know him. But you knew, he knew you like crossing more than he knew me. Y'all with me? Could Cindy, over the next 3 to 4 months, develop a relationship with this person?
Depends on accessibility.
Depends on accessibility. But if there's accessibility, there's a platform. Now, it might take someone 2 years. It might take someone 5 years. It might take, right? But if I gave you $25,000 as a bet that if in the next year that $3 million lawyer knew your name, knew what you were doing, and was open to talking to you over the next 2 years.
How would he know what I was doing? All he knows is I'm secretary.
But what I'm saying is, and I don't know the answer to this, and there's different situations, but your situation and your skills and your growth is going to be, you're going to be stronger 6 months from now than you are right now. Is there a platform? Is there a way? And I don't know, it might not be worth the effort.
Right.
But that's not, the evaluation of is it worth the effort and can I do it are two vastly different things. If I was going to pay you $25,000 to have this guy say, so tell me what you're working on 2 years from now, if $250,000 within the next 2 years, this guy genuinely asked you, so what are you up to? Would you be able to pull it off?
Mm-hmm.
That would be developing a lukewarm to a warm. And that's one of the hardest ones to think about. And all of us are like, I don't know how, but if I'm there, if I'm working there, there's gonna be a way. I'm gonna get to know his secretary, find out what he needs. And I'm gonna do 90 different things to figure out how to get this person engaged in my life. Well,
Is that where the guidance comes in? You have to see.
yeah, because that would be developing a game plan. If we know who's lukewarm, I told Yubi. Yubi is a distributor for Coca-Cola, so he goes into stores, right? So he knows all the managers, but he doesn't. Hey, Yubi, here's what I want you to do: carry around a pad of paper. When you go and you see the manager's name, if his name's Mark, call him by his name. Ask him how long he's lived in the area. Find out if his kids, if he's got kids. Oh, your kid's name is Bill. Billy. So you leave and you write down Mark's son's Billy plays soccer. Find out what, hey, next time, hey, Mark, what's going on? Hey, did Billy have a game this weekend? Oh, he's going to coffee with Mark.
Right.
Oh, he built a relationship. Yubi could do that for 200 people. All of us could. How many people can at your church? You guys are big in your church, but there's a lot of people there. They know you at different levels. Some only know you because they smile at you.
Right.
That's lukewarm. You could say, Don, we are going to develop 10 lukewarm relationships in the next 4 months. So here, let's get out our church directory. Who are the 10 that we want to have in our corner? Who are the 10 we want to have in coffee? Who are the 10 in March we want to know better? And then you're like, hey, it's not that you just show some interest and ask them questions and not.
And let's be very clear, it's not who are the 10 who would do business,
Nope.
okay?
Right.
Sure.
It's who are the 10 that we want to develop a relationship?
Yeah. That's all this is.
It's very easy to go the other side.
No, it's really, really good. And we have time to do it. You know why we have time to do it? Because it's our then list. But our then list is going to be our now list soon.
Right. Yeah.
And here's what's going to happen. If we don't do this well, when we get through with this, we're going to be empowered. We're going to feel like, hey, we've got things going, and we are going to treat these people like they're these people, and we're going to put our needs above theirs, which undermines locking them in as allies. So, make sense?
Yeah.
So this is the stuff we're going to spend a bunch of time working on. You guys are doing phenomenal. I'm really, really, really excited. And we're going to attack these skills. And so one of them is we've got to get this wide skill down. It gives us a platform for what's going on. Next part, really, really transitions and changes and kind of goals and things that we're working on. I'm excited about what you guys are going to all here. Let me give you guys on this. Really excited about kind of what the Saturdays are going to look like and the pieces that we're going to be able to get going. So I've got a ton of stuff to go over. Yeah. Well, it's there. It's just okay. Yeah. So.
So Brett and I started talking, and actually it's a great segue, right? Your sort of then lukewarmness. And when you think about sort of what is your plan for your then list and your now list. And I actually told this story in our women's to women talk. When I got into the law, I was a first-year associate. And I thought, okay, as a first-year associate, how am I ever going to bring in business? I work with venture capitalists that make between $3 and $50 million a year. And why would they ever talk to a first-year associate? Well, the truth is that the heads of these venture capital firms, and venture capitalists are people who give money to other people to start businesses, and then they owned a piece of that business to make money. And they were my clients. I was on their client teams. And I thought, why would they ever talk to me? Well, the truth was that at this level I was at, they weren't ever going to talk to me. But in these venture capital firms were associates, new employees out of college who were learning that business, the same way that I was a new lawyer out of law school learning my business. And I thought, well, they'll talk to me because we're at the same level. We're both new, out of school, trying to learn a business. And what I knew is that, or what I thought at the time, because this was pre-Primerica, was that 10 years, 7 to 10 years after I started being a lawyer, I was going to be a partner. And that meant that in 7 to 10 years after that person started in the venture capital firm, they were going to be a managing director. Now, as a partner, if I developed a relationship over the next 7 to 10 years with that person, was there a possibility that I could do business with that managing partner? Of course. Of course. Now, most people don't walk in as a first year or day one that early and think about a 7 to 10 year plan. Right. But if I didn't think about a 7 to 10 year plan, in 7 to 10 years, was I going to be a partner? Well, I might be, right? So good point, right? Because if I didn't build a book of business, I probably wasn't going to be to begin with. But let's say that I started the plan 6 years in. 10 years? Now I'm 6 years in and I'm going to make partner in 10 years. I only have 4 years to build that relationship at all. Now I'm partner. Now I have to go build business. How am I going to treat that managing partner? Because I really need their business now. I didn't need their business when I first started, right? So now I'm in a position where they're on my done list and I'm going to treat them like my done list because I really freaking need the business because now I'm a partner. Yeah? So I started out and said, I'm going to go on 25 coffees a year or drinks. And I'm going to pick 10 associates in the venture capital world to develop relationships with. And some are going to stick, and some aren't, and some are going to make sense to keep building. So that was sort of how this all kind of started. And the question became, how do you build a relationship? It's a skill. And it's actually a skill that we all have. We just don't always do it on purpose. And there are ways that we can develop that skill in order to become an expert at building relationships. And the key point for building a relationship is adding value to that person's life. Because every time that I added value to that person's life, that person was more interested in spending time with me and eventually in adding value to my life. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So we talk about points of access, right? And everyone familiar when we talk about points of access? And the way that we've introduced points of access is talking about where you would listen when you're at the kitchen table for certain products, right? Where you would listen for, oh, they've got a kid, so maybe an education fund would work, right? But when we take a step back, points of access is really just about where can I add value in this relationship? If the relationship is to, then we might be thinking, where can I add value in terms of certain products that we have? But if the relationship, if we're at the stage of a lukewarm then list, are you going to bring up a bunch of products for adding value? No. So then you say to yourself, okay, so how do I add value? So the points of access, that concept applies at every level of a relationship. And I was struck because at our last Women and Women's meeting, a local fabulous lawyer, Claudia McDowell, spoke. And she said, law school did not teach us the law. law school taught us to be great listeners and analytical thinkers. So she literally said, she said, you're gonna come in my office and I'm not gonna know every rule. I'm not gonna know every law. But I'm gonna know how to listen to you. I'm gonna know how to listen for help. And I might have to go research the law, the specific part of it, right? So adding value starts with the skill of being a great listener. If you're not listening and you're sitting there thinking about what am I going to say next? How am I going to say it? And how do I get them to go to my hot list? And how and how and how? Is there a possibility that you would miss the ability to add value? We can only add value if we hear where we can add value. Does that make sense? And so then I have a lot of people that can add about the products. I don't know enough about the business. I have nothing to add.
Or I don't know enough about their needs.
Or I don't know enough about their needs.
To know what they need.
To know what they need. And yet the truth is, every single one of us comes to this place with expertise of some kind. We all have a toolkit. It might be that you're great at expertise. It might be that you're great at sports. It might be that you're a great parent. Every one of us comes into this room with some set of tools. While we're building up that toolbox, when we talk about our Primerica business, we have an opportunity to add value using the tools we already have. Does that make sense? Adding value is adding value, period. It's not about assessing what kind of value we're adding. It's not about assessing the topic that we're adding value on. When I first connected with those associates in the venture capital world, I was a brand new lawyer. I couldn't talk to them about building a business with entrepreneurs. When I first met entrepreneurs, I couldn't talk to them about the legal terms for their business and what was the best legal structure for their business. I didn't know anything about it. But for 10 years before I went to law school, I was in marketing and business development. So I would meet entrepreneurs, and I would meet these venture capital associates, and I would hear them talk about their challenges in their businesses. Now, would I try to provide legal value and stress about legal value? No, it couldn't. I said, well, I know a lot about marketing. What's your marketing plan? I could add value on the marketing side. Now, if they said nothing related to marketing, was I going to throw them a marketing plan at them? No, it's not listening, right? If they said, you know, I've really gotten into basket weaving, I would think, oh, well, that's kind of interesting. Let me go look into basket weaving. And in our next conversation, I knew a little bit more about basket weaving, and I could participate in the conversation. So one of the ways that we can add value in that lukewarm environment, that we can add value in any environment, is to become a great listener and to listen to access that we can add value using the tools we already have. Make sense? So everyone in this room is an expert at something. And so today, we're going to take a little bit of time to practice adding value by talking to each other about it. So I'm going to start out with an example. I'm going to ask Yadira to come up here.
So Yadira!
No. If you don't mind, I'm going to stay seated. So Yadira, what are some things that you're an expert in? What are some things that you know really, really well?
I know nails really well.
You know nails really well.
I know the tools that will give you different shapes. I know the little brushes, which type of polishes give you what type of, you know, if they're too runny, too thick.
Awesome. Who knew this about Yadira? Raise your hand. None of us knew this about Yadira. We have spent how long with Yadira? How long have you been coming here?
Year and a half.
A year and a half. How many of us in our room get our nails done?
Oh, guys.
How many of us? Like, how cool is this to learn about Yadira? Right? So, and this is actually, this is really interesting. So the other day, I said to Yadira, oh my God, Yadira, your nails are so cool. Didn't I? And we started talking about Halloween and Halloween costumes. So let's have that conversation. And I want you to think about the point of access, where you can add value in that conversation to me in my life. So, oh my God, you got to see my nails, sorry. Dude.
Well, they're like week old, so yeah.
Oh my God, these are so cool.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Super cute. I do like every week, and then I practice on my sister and my mom, and I do like toenails and stuff like that. So
Really?
yeah, they're really cool.
So I've been thinking about like a Halloween costume, and I think I'm going to be a skeleton. I found this really cool shirt that's got like the ribs and then two little like skeleton
That's awesome.
babies.
We can do we can even like match your nails to it too.
But
Like,
you
we
would know
can-
how to do that?
Well, I mean, we can look at a picture, kind of see, draw it out on a piece of paper, and then just kind of like practice it out, and then that can go together with your costume.
Just saying.
And then you'll be skeleton from head to
That
toe.
is so cool. You would take the time to do that?
Yeah, totally. I loved it.
I love that. So can we like set up a time that
Yeah.
we could get together and do that?
Yeah, let's do it. So we'll talk about kind of really like more your costume, what's it gonna look like, and then kind of match it together, and we'll see a couple of pictures, stuff like that, draw it out. And then it's kind of like getting a tattoo, you know? So yeah, we can get together, sure.
Oh my God, I so appreciate it. I had no idea that you could help with that. I really appreciate that. Yeah, no problem. Thanks so much. Now, how different is that conversation than the conversation you and I had?
How different. I wasn't trying to add value. It's just, it is what it is, basically. And now it's just trying to add my expertise, what I have, something that can use.
And what conversation we first had?
There was really not a result. I mean, it kind of just ended and that's it. And so we didn't move any further. Whereas in this setting up a coffee, but to kind of look at pictures of skeletons and stuff. So we start developing that relationship and trying to just talk to each other. Whereas before, that was it. It's over.
It's closed in.
You see the difference? Dude, that worked out so well. Thanks.
You're good at that.
Big difference, right? Okay, so for the next 10 minutes, I'm gonna ask you to get in pairs, and Dawn and Kat have to split up. And I want you to think about an expertise, right? So we're practicing this on an expertise. So this isn't about guessing necessarily, okay? So I want you to have a conversation, right? I want you to share the topic of the expertise, okay? And then I want you, so an example would be, Cindy, what's an expertise you have?
Plants.
Plants, okay. So then I would think, okay, I'm gonna have a conversation with Cindy that has something to do with plants one way or another, and I'm gonna give Cindy an opportunity to practice the skill of adding value in an area she feels she's an expert, okay?
And then do we turn the tables and let the other person be the one
And then, exactly,
receiving, giving in?
that's what we're gonna
Okay.
do, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get into groups, pick a spot in the room, and we'll take about 10 minutes to do this.
Sure. Yeah.
Done?
Do you wanna do?
Okay, so since you gave your expertise on.
Well, what's an area of expertise?
You can go and try to sell it
Pretty close.
Yeah, you're like, yes, yeah. And you were like.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
You go first.
Yeah, okay, so,
Right.
It'll be hard to sell you on the value.
I'm so impressed yesterday, I you know, like, he said, and then you
Yeah.
come up and they water. it,
Right now,
there's
you
a
can't
water
afford
system
something
that comes in,
Right.
and you can water
Right.
it. And so you go around and yellowish, and it used to be.
Because
I don't know.
He's so low. And he was like, oh, you know, I know it's
Well, that's good.
it's
Trying to bring that up because
a little thing, but
you know that I
I don't know, we're just kind of.
special teaching well is rejuvenating.
Really, Jesus, yeah. Oh, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. It says, have you been back any types of clothes? That would say something decent, especially like with nowadays. Paint on So so in the case of your car, you said, how's your car?
My car.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's still part of the stage where they're stating 2 or 3 days. So rather than just sit there and have them, you know, just straight over it, what's it? That part, right, 1 year, 2, it may not last. So what we're gonna do is one of these days, you know, if you are interested, Ready. Depending on who you go, keep it the same. So, you know, my service is really depends. Basically, that's something basic, you know, so it's just in case of something like that, this is 2%, you know what I mean? What I can do too is that's not when I come out, I'll do a few spots to see whether it actually works. Somebody can sit there and be like, yeah, we're gonna charge you this. And there's no guarantee whether it's gonna be better than what you need. And then you'd be like, okay, we can take that risk. $280 to save the man. And then still later on, be like, because then you would look at me like, oh, wow, right? Exactly. So I'd rather sit there and show you what to do. So what you're looking like you would say that, yeah, that nobody else I do most homes, businesses, so on and so forth. Only thing you have to say that you can basic I'm gonna go watch it. Bring myself out when I get so that would be like as far as that. Like this week, you know, next week. I'm busy. Okay, cool. So then what we'll do is I'll go and get your phone number.
I don't care.
Right.
And
And
the
I
lights,
was going to
you know, there's these kind of lights are
Right.
Oh, that's resident. Well, you know, that's already good. So if I start on a phone, I'll know not to let it have too much direct. Keep it more indirect.
All right.
Right.
I'm trying to, I guess, figure out
My favorite gift,
you ever go to a family function? Yeah.
you know, that's my big family.
Yeah.
Because, you everybody, everybody.
Right.
I do.
I am in Mississippi.
Okay. Just curious because I actually I just talked to my cousins.
Years.
You deal with gold, well, the only reason I mean, what would I even say to you?
I always thought it was really way beyond my,
I've been like,
pressure stuff.
to
I ran into a friend
show
of the year,
care.
and unbeknownst to me, for the years I didn't realize it was. You know, that's really severe.
And he's excited to see that, but all of a sudden,
If you go to a place like University College, where he's
What- what type of life do you have to give to us? Like, not just like sit there and be like, you need
I
out.
took their 2 semesters.
Well, one of the keys.
And now I use the airport till I find transport people who need help. I volunteer at like
Okay.
I mean, I can really knowledge. Really, I guess if you just someone that needs that. You know, and I would love giving kids their first experiences and exposes them to a whole, it just opens up their mind to whole new possibilities of what they could do or even, I love that. Does confidence booster.
What
So,
you
to
think
really
what
work on
you want.
just not about it, because all of them sit down and they're taking a station on the right side, and let's play the controls on the right side, and let's play the
I have
moving up
to
down
read
the
through
Okay, about 3 more minutes?
It's real.
Right, right.
Shake it up, like, shake it like me.
Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't.
You know,
That's
and
the biggest thing.
that's
So it's just basically just letting them know that you care about them.
right, you know,
That's the easiest.
Okay.
And then from there, you take it from there. You know what I mean?
so if you know, if anybody
Or,
yes,
yes,
like that, like you're
you
struggling
talk with them.
with a travel.
Open the
Just
talk.
let-
Oh, not the
I do
top.
my life. Actually, talk with them.
to drag 12 hours back from work.
Or,
Hours.
how you can take
Travel, yeah.
it.
Oh, okay.
And if you really open it after a while, it's open.
Oh, that'd be great.
And that's exactly what you have to like. It's to allow.
And if
Actually,
you're
one of the biggest mistakes is we always want to know because we love it. But we never bother asking.
That's true, that's true. Yeah, 'cause I know that, you know, especially when
I must say,
There's a
I
lot of
really,
people,
you know,
not even asking the time to rehab this paper. And I did see a lot of rebellion in that.
And so she
Yeah,
didn't
it makes a lot of
ask
sense.
the light.
It really does. Yeah.
And then-
Let's face it, even with
Right, of course.
even if the device is different, you know it's really fine. Human nature, I'm just gonna.
Right, that's true.
You know, it's what they want. Yeah, a lot of time. And then there's no resistance.
And
If I ask you a question like there's nothing to fight.
Oh, right.
But if I come to you and say, you need to do this,
So there's no contention, it's a wall.
Right.
and it's
That's
a real
what
slow process.
And it's the only way to
But
understand.
If I don't leave, I don't find that off. Leave me a message, I guarantee you, in 24 hours, I'll get back on them.
Okay.
And I tried to.
Awesome.
Oh,
Oh, there's that.
So when they.
Yeah, 'cause I was like, how am I gonna get into the covers?
Because I use that.
And then there's even like a nose cone over here. So
I've been doing this kind of work. And I don't care who you
Oh, I said I love that. No, no, I actually not just
You know, is this?
I said I don't know.
And they met us at the airport. So I just go back to
what I do,
and I was like, you know, there's.
I intentionally want and I keep on.
You know, like I can't accept but you know, for the cost of living,
Just the fact that you do it, give me a reason.
Exactly.
That I was talking about.
Let's wrap it up.
Now I know.
I don't have the phone, so I don't have this verbal talk.
Right.
So that's what.
Oh, yeah. Oh, especially with 16 on board, you know, I should take them up because we've had a pilot organization sponsors.
Yeah.
And an explorer group, like an airport.
Yeah.
Wow, that is, can I ask you a question? One of the things I do, I've been doing it for a long time, because of where I work, I meet a lot of people, and what I do is I take training super bad. So what I do every couple of months, I like to keep it. And I get email,
Yes,
and I email,
yes,
but I never verbally talk.
that's okay.
So one of my dilemmas is how do I transition
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
this process
Yes.
without ever verbally talking?
Yes, I hear you. I am an emailer. I'm the queen of email.
So I need to get yeah, because it's hard for me. I know what I want to say to you, but when I start writing the email, it gets. Yeah.
The first step is getting the email address. Once you've got the email address, yeah, we can absolutely talk about how do you take that email address and move it from to meeting in person too.
Oh, okay.
Definitely. So thanks everyone for participating in that. Kat, what did you learn about Cindy?
Cindy is a great plant lady, and I have just taken a plant clipping off of a plant at work that I have on my desk at work that's beautifully maintained by the plant. But I told her what a brown thumb I have. And so I was afraid that once it does start to sprout little roots on the bottom of it, is that I will just kill it. So she's going to help me not kill my plant.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
And what did you learn from that experience?
I learned that it's relatively easy to add value to other people's lives because we all come with different skill sets. You know, even if all your skill set is really how to comfort somebody when they're feeling down, that's a great skill because they don't want to have somebody walk into a room that's going to suck the little bit of life they have in them out. They want somebody who's going to come and give them resuscitation. So even if it's just you're a really great listener, know how to smile, know how to offer some little encouragement, that's valuable.
Yes, and I think that's huge, right? Did everybody really hear that? When I was driving here this morning and I was thinking about different types of expertise, that one came up for me too. Being an expert as a listener is an expertise. That is a way to add value. So many people in our lives, everyone, they just want to be heard.
That's right.
They just want to feel that what they have to say is important to the person they're talking to.
That's right.
And if when someone's talking to you, you're busy thinking about what you're going to do, are you able to be there for that other person?
No.
And we, as a group, have committed to making a difference in people's lives, right? You're here to change lives. Working on the finance, working on the money, that's one way.
Right.
If we do nothing but add value to people's lives in all the way that I was listening to people adding value today, we can make a difference as a community. And interestingly, every single person who was having a conversation about adding value had an opportunity together again.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear that? I mean, Sue and I learned things about each other. I was just talking about how to organize time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Sue's got a bunch of things going on. And it's like, well, how do I make sure that I remember that I do everything and that I set the times for everything? Well, I've got a calendaring system that I use.
Mm.
Right? Who knew? It's just in my toolkit. It's not a Primerica thing. Now, as you're developing, right, Sue has skills in the points of access as it relates to Primerica and the access gap. Brett has well-developed skills, so they're in a position to use those skills. But while we're developing those skills, if we waited till all those skills are fully developed, where are we in our business? Where are we in building our relationships? Nowhere. We all walk in the door with that expertise. So you have 3 things that you're going to do this week. You are writing your list.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
You are on Friday sending 10 boo contacts.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Mm-hmm.
And you are picking one person at some point this week that you are going to find a point of access to add value in one way or another. Okay?
Right.
Any questions before Brett comes back up?
If I can have all of these pieces of paper that I handed out to you. But I need to go back.
And then you're,
Not a mistake.
Oh, you're
Augmenting.
giving us something else. Oh.
And I want everyone to realize that Saturday practices are going to be about building skills, right? It's our job to create real value here so that you gain value and want to be here. What you experience today, right? A piece of a high level point of view and a piece of real skill building that you are going to practice this week. These are about. Okay?
Wait.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm excited. That was good. And I think one of the interesting things, it's a habit to look to. Now, let me make sure that we just, the Surgeon General, you're valuable. Make sure when you look to add value that you understand that you're valuable. Not accommodating, not a doormat,
Yes.
not someone to be exploited or taken advantage of.
Right.
You add value.
That's right.
And all of it's about cultivating and developing a relationship of value. The more value you have, the more opportunities for conversations and the more opportunities for them to shift the dynamics of your relationship. I have to do this. This is perfect timing. Hold on. Is this okay? Oh, you guys, I've told you the story of my mom. I've been here a long time, and for a really, really, really long time, my mom was not someone who was overly enthusiastic about Primerica. That would be a relatively powerful assessment, and predominantly because I was built in a sand line. You're with me or against me. And so she wasn't immediately with me; she was immediately against me, and so there was this space for that experience. Does that make sense? And so it was, well, we just won't talk about the business and any of that stuff. Over the last couple of years, we've been recruiting allies, advocates, and associates. Okay. My mom sends a text today, this morning. You can't really see that, but basically what that is a picture of combines in a field, right? And she says a combine being a former student of mine in Gruber was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and all of his neighbors showed up to harvest his field. Paying it forward is a huge part of the Midwest culture, and you get what needed in times of trouble. Not so much here, but it'd be nice change in California. Not so much here, but it'd be a nice change of California tradition, as was a California tradition as well. Have a good day.
Oh, that's good.
That's right. So that was my mom. Send a picture of someone that she grew up with, had brain cancer, and it was like, this is a Midwest kind of culture.
Uh-huh.
My response, Mom, thanks for sharing. You know, you're very right. Love you. Have a great weekend. My mom, come to think of it, your business is encouraging paying forwards.
Wow,
Oh.
that's a big change. Oh. Wow.
But I connect.
Anything can happen. There's a space, there's an understanding. There's so much that this didn't happen overnight.
I was saying, we've been cultivating that for 2 years.
2 years.
Wow.
Now some people could go 2 years. Others go, she was gonna be my mom forever. Shit, we might as well start.
Yeah.
We're going, like, love you guys. And we worked really hard to make sure that the theoretical's in place and we have a good understanding and we've got the language and the support systems and all that stuff. We are going to keep doing this. But doggone it, we are going to become experts at these skills. We're going to create spaces where you're going to walk out of here feeling stronger, where there's a peace. The stuff that Robin did, the stuff we're going to build is we want you guys to be a part of this, to understand that we've got an unbelievable long-term game plan, but there's skills that you and I can develop that we can put together right now that we can go use today. That you can get into a conversation with somebody today and just look to connect with them. Now, you don't have to be the expert to add value. Be careful and wary of trying to get validation from your expertise. Getting validation from expertise and adding value are counter. Right? If Joseph, who's an expert in Cardi, shows his expertise, one way he could show his expertise is, why'd you do that? Oh, this is how you need to do it. Does that add value? That gives me a sense of expertise, but not a value. Joseph's goal isn't for me to see him as an expert. Joseph's goal is for Joseph to add value. Different objectives. Does that make sense?
And there's a difference between, and I'm glad you brought this up, expertise and I know something about. I might have just read an article about soccer. I am no expert in soccer, but someone's starting to talk about soccer, and I'm like, oh, you know, I just read an article, and they said that this is the better technique for kicking the ball. So I'm glad that you brought
You
that.
don't have to be an expert to add value. And being an expert doesn't automatically mean you will add value.
That's right.
If you have the wrong attitude or heart of it.
And let's call this, and then we'll finish with this. Just so we've got it. These are skills, right? What do we know about skills?
They can be learned.
They can be learned. What do we know about things that need to be learned? They can be taught. Well, they can be taught, but how good are we at things that we haven't done that we're just learning?
So you have to practice.
So this is critical. If we, again, go back to our neutral assessment of I am, there are going to be times that you're trying to add value and you're going to suck at it. It's a skill. Here's my suggestion. Gauge the response as an indicator of your abilities at this moment. If you're like, no, I'm really, I will come over and help you. And they're like, no, we're good. Hey, why don't you email me the pictures? You don't need to come to the house. That might be an indicator of your skill.
Right.
Don't give up. It's going to be March. Isn't it? It will be March 2015, will it not?
Yes. Yeah.
If we practice and develop these skills, will we be better in March than we are today?
Yes.
And if we try once and give up, will it give us the strength to do the things we need to do? No, only the skills.
And set the expectation of where the person is that you're talking to, right? If that person is on your hot list, the likelihood of getting together, the likelihood of Yadira and I getting together to look at the nails, that is a more likely path than if I'm on her frozen lukewarm list. And if my response is, thank you so much for that information, that's an appropriate response. And Yadira's not freaking out that we're not meeting to do nails together, right? So also, that's why we have the lineup. That's why we have the farm system and the ways to think about this. Because you also want to think about where the person is that you're talking to, so that you don't set an expectation of the response that's out of alignment with where they are.
Good?
Good.
So come Wednesday with lists. We got work to do. We got stuff to do. Let's blow this thing out. Let's have some fun. And Halloween contest. Everybody, Halloween. Everyone bring someone. Have someone come with you.
Yes,
Invite someone.
it will be so fun.
Right? Invite multiple people. It'll be fun. So just let us know if you're going to, and so we've got that. We love you guys. Yes?
We can have a security training, 5 minutes in this room. In 5 minutes. Yes, in 5 minutes, not 4 or 5 minutes.
fine, so.
I, every couple of months,